Have you ever pondered the profound significance of the seventh day in the creation story? It's a fascinating part of Genesis chapter 2 verses 1 to 3, where we see an omnipotent God, after 6 days of crafting the universe, taking a pause, a rest. But why would an all-powerful being need to rest? The answer is, he doesn't. But he chose to rest on the seventh day, not out of exhaustion, but to set a divine precedent. God's rest on the seventh day was more than just a pause or a break. It was an intentional act of sanctification, making the seventh day holy and setting it apart from the other 6. This act brought into existence a timeless principle that has permeated cultures and religions around the world, the principle of the Sabbath. The Sabbath, derived from the Hebrew word Shabbat, means to cease, to end, or to rest. It's a day dedicated to stepping back from the regular bustle of life, a day of cessation from work, a day to reflect, to worship, and to rejuvenate. It's a day that God has sanctified, blessed, and made holy. The sanctification of the seventh day is not just about a divine pause or a holy day, it's about the rhythm of life. It's a reminder that just as there are times to work, to create, to be productive, there are also times to rest, to reflect, and to appreciate the beauty around us. It's a rhythm that God Himself demonstrated and invites us to follow. It's also a reminder of our dependence on God. Just as God ceased from His work of creation, we too are invited to cease from our works, to rest in Him, to trust in His provision, and to devote time to worship Him. And so, the principle of the Sabbath, a day of rest and worship, was established. A day set aside, sanctified, and blessed by God Himself. A day that invites us to pause, to reflect, to worship, and to rest in the rhythm of God's creation. Can you imagine a world before rain and before man began to till the ground? This is the scene Genesis chapter 2 verses 4 to 6 paints for us. It's a time when life as we know it was different, a time when the earth was in a state of divine perfection, a paradisiacal condition, if you will. This era underscores a period when God's creation was self-sustaining. There was no need for rain because a mist, a divine sprinkler system, if you will, was rising from the earth to water the ground. Picture a landscape with lush greenery fed by an underground water system, a natural irrigation that maintains the verdant beauty of the earth. And then, there's the mention of no man to till the ground. This gives us a glimpse into a time before human activity, before we started plowing, planting, and harvesting. It's an era of divine provision, a testament to a time when God's creation was enough to sustain itself without human intervention. But why does the scripture take us back to this time? It's to provide context, to show us the original state of the world, a world in God's perfect design. This emphasizes our humble beginnings, reminding us of a time when we lived in harmony with nature, a time when everything was provided for us by the Creator Himself. In this paradisiacal state, we are reminded of our dependence on God for life and sustenance. It's a call back to a time of divine provision, a time before the toil, a time before the sweat of our brow. It's a reminder of what was, what could have been, and what will be in the fullness of God's time. So we see a time of paradisiacal beauty, a world untouched by human activity. It's a beautiful reminder of our origins, of God's perfect creation, and our place within it. It's a testament to God's divine provision, and a reminder of our humble beginnings. Ever wondered about the significance of man being formed from dust? It's a question that nudges us to revisit the 7th verse of Genesis chapter 2. This verse captures the essence of the creation of man, a momentous event in the grand design of existence. Picture this. The world is fresh and untamed, an uncut gem of potential, and at the center of it all, God forms man from the dust of the ground. It's a visual that's both humbling and profound. Why dust, you may ask? Well, by choosing dust, the most ordinary and ubiquitous of materials, we are reminded of our humble beginnings. It signifies our mortality, a stark reminder that no matter our achievements, our roots are tied to the earth. But the verse doesn't stop there. It goes on to describe how God breathes life into this dust-formed man. It's a clear delineation of our dependence on a higher power. Life, in all its complexity and wonder, is not a product of our doing. It's a gift, a divine breath that animates the dust, that sparks consciousness and sets us apart from the rest of creation. In this divine act, we find a reflection of our relationship with God, a relationship of dependence and divine love. The breath of life from God is not just about physical life, it also signifies spiritual life. It's a reminder that God is not just the creator but also the sustainer. We depend on him for our physical existence, yes, but also for our spiritual sustenance. This verse, in its simplicity, carries a profound message about our place in the universe. We are formed from the ordinary, yet infused with the extraordinary. We are mortal, yet touched by the divine. We are independent beings, yet forever linked to our Creator. Thus, we are reminded of our humble origins and dependence on God for life and sustenance. It's a grounding truth, a compass directing us back to what truly matters, our relationship with God, the giver and sustainer of life. Have you visualized the beauty and abundance of the Garden of Eden? Now let's delve into verses 8 to 14 of Genesis chapter 2, where we see God as the ultimate gardener, planting the Garden of Eden. In this paradise, God provided for all of man's needs. Imagine a place where rivers flowed with gold, bdellium, and onyx stone, a place of lush vegetation and abundant resources. The Garden of Eden was exactly that, a place of divine provision. It was a land of plenty, where scarcity was unknown, and every need was met. But Eden was more than just a well-stocked pantry. It was also an awe-inspiring spectacle of beauty. Picture a place where every tree was pleasing to the eye, where the vibrant colors of flowers and fruits painted a breathtaking canvas of life. The Garden of Eden was such a place, a grand display of God's creativity and love for beauty. It was a feast for the senses, a testament to the magnificence of the Creator. Yet, the Garden of Eden was not merely a place of provision and beauty. Above all, it was a place of relationship. It was here that God walked and talked with man, establishing a relationship of intimacy and love. It was a place where man could commune with God, bask in his presence, and enjoy an intimate relationship with his Creator. In the Garden of Eden, man was not just a creature, but a beloved child, living in close communion with his Father. The garden was a symbol of God's love for man, his desire to provide for him, to share beauty with him, and to be in relationship with him. And so, the Garden of Eden stands as a testament to God's love and generosity, his creativity and beauty, and his desire for relationship with us. It reminds us of the paradise that was, and the paradise that can be again, where God's provision, beauty, and intimate presence are experienced in their fullest measure. The Garden of Eden, a place of divine provision, beauty, and intimate relationship with God. What does the command given to Adam in the Garden of Eden tell us about human responsibility and free will? Let's delve deeper into Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. Here we see God placing man in the garden. This is not just a placement of existence, but a placement of responsibility. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Here we see the first job description ever given, to care for the environment, to cherish it, to protect it, and to sustain it. It's a profound reminder of our role as caretakers of the world we inhabit. Then comes the command. God tells Adam, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it you will certainly die." This is the first instance where free will is mentioned. Adam is given a choice, to obey or to disobey. This command, and the free will it entails, is significant. It shows that God does not impose his will on us. We are not mindless beings, but individuals with the ability to make decisions. However, with this freedom comes responsibility. Our choices have consequences, and in the case of Adam, the consequence was a matter of life and death. What's striking here is the clear and direct communication from God. He doesn't leave Adam guessing about what's expected of him or what the consequences of his actions will be. He lays it all out. This demonstrates that while we have free will, we are not without guidance or direction. So, from these verses, we learn that with freedom comes responsibility, and our choices, good or bad, have consequences. It's a timeless lesson that rings true today, as it did in the Garden of Eden. We learn the vital lesson of responsibility, the gift of free will, and the significant consequences of our choices. What does the creation of woman and the state of the first man and woman teach us about companionship, equality, and unity? This question propels us into the heart of Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 25. In these verses we see a vivid picture of creation's crowning achievement, the creation of woman as a companion for man. God, in his infinite wisdom and love, recognizes that it's not good for man to be alone, so he creates animals, each unique and wonderful in its own right. But among all these creatures, none were found that could truly complement the man. This leads God to his masterpiece, the creation of woman from the man's rib. This act signifies the intimate connection between man and woman, a bond of shared substance and experience. The woman is described as a helper suitable for him. The word helper here isn't a term of subjugation or inferiority. Instead, it represents a companion who complements man, someone who can meet him where he is and help him become who he's meant to be. This is a beautiful picture of equality, where both man and woman are unique yet unified, different yet harmoniously interconnected. The state of the first man and woman is described as being naked and unashamed. This phrase paints a picture of innocence and trust. In their initial state, there's no guilt, no fear, and no shame. There is only openness, vulnerability, and a deep sense of trust. This is the state of innocence, a reflection of their perfect relationship with each other and with God. And so, we learn about the beauty of companionship, where two individuals come together to form a harmonious unit. We learn about the principle of equality, where each person has unique strengths and roles, yet they are fundamentally equal. We learn about the power of unity, where diversity and individuality don't cause division, but rather contribute to a beautiful tapestry of shared experience. And finally, we learn about the bliss of innocence and trust, a state of unadulterated joy and peace that comes from a perfect relationship with God and each other. We learn about the beauty of companionship, the principle of equality, the power of unity, and the bliss of innocence and trust. What are the key insights we glean from Genesis chapter 2? Genesis chapter 2 is a vivid narrative that paints a detailed picture of the creation of humans and their initial environment. It illustrates the profound relationship between humans and God, the responsibilities entrusted to humans, and the significance of companionship. In the initial verses, we find God completing his creation and resting on the seventh day, sanctifying it. This sanctification of the seventh day establishes the principle of the Sabbath, a day dedicated to rest and worship. It teaches us the importance of setting aside regular times to rest, rejuvenate, and worship God, both physically and spiritually. As we delve into the verses that recap creation before rain and humans tilled the ground, we are reminded of our humble origins and dependence on God for life and sustenance. The creation of man from dust signifies our mortality and our reliance on God, who breathes life into us. The depiction of the Garden of Eden represents a place of provision, beauty, and relationship with God. It is here that God places man, giving him the responsibility to tend the garden, and with it, the command not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. These verses highlight human responsibility, free will, and the consequences of our choices. We then see God creating animals, and subsequently, woman as a companion for man. The creation of woman emphasizes companionship, equality, and unity. The mention of them being naked and unashamed indicates a state of innocence, vulnerability, and trust. This teaches us to cherish relationships, recognizing the value of companionship, unity, and mutual respect. Genesis chapter 2, therefore, is a rich tapestry of divine love, intentionality, human responsibility, and the beauty of companionship. It sets the stage for the events of chapter 3 by introducing the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, preparing us to delve deeper into the ensuing narrative.